Hello everyone, thanks for coming today. We're going to be talking about building Web3. I am Manel, I'm the CEO at Games for a Living, and today we have here Justin from Stellar, as well as Antoni from Aleph. So Justin, it would be great if you give an introduction to yourself and your company.
Sure. My name is Justin Rice. I am the VP of Ecosystem at the Stellar Development Foundation. We are a foundation that supports a layer 1 blockchain technology called Stellar. Stellar's been around for a while, since 2015, which makes it ancient for a blockchain. And to date, it's really been, it's sort of launched with a limited repertoire of transactions. It's really been focused on payments. It's designed to make it easy to issue assets, to convert assets. It's really used a lot for cross-border payments. And crucially, it has really good on and off ramps. So people issue stable coins, and then there are all different ways to sort of like actually deposit in order to get those stable coins onto the network. Some of those on and off ramps actually include MoneyGram. All the MoneyGram locations, or many MoneyGram locations, you can walk in and actually put cash on the counter and get onto the network via cash, which is pretty amazing. But in terms of building Web3, what is now happening is that Stellar, which has been around for a really long time, which processed over 1 billion transactions in the last quarter alone, we are now adding to it, or building out, a new smart contracts platform called Sorbonne. So we're going to take what Stellar has, which is these great on and off ramps, this great tooling, this history of reliability and uptime, and this ecosystem of different projects that are actually making payments happen. And we're going to add to it the ability to actually build DeFi protocols, to actually build Web3 through this new smart contracts platform, Sorbonne. And so a lot of, for me, what I'm excited about, how I'm thinking about building Web3 has to do with right now, when we are trying to bootstrap an entire ecosystem around the new smart contracts platform that can plug into those on and off ramps. And so that's kind of what I'm here to talk about, right? How do we do that? By supporting people like you to actually come be first to market in a brand new sort of greenfield smart contracts ecosystem.
Awesome, thank you, Justin. So, Antoni, please, if you could introduce yourself and your company.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Antoni Zolciak, and I'm with Aleph. Similarly to Stellar, we're also a layer 1, and also about to launch our smart contracts, so that's the fun part. Where we focus, though, most of our efforts, though, is privacy, and especially programmable privacy. So we combine zero-knowledge snarks with secure multi-party computation, and then want to make it in a purely software-based fashion without trusted execution environments. And what that means is that essentially the capabilities of that platform should be a bit broader. And then when it comes to the sort of general next steps, we're about to launch our ecosystem funding program to support developers, builders, and yeah, just start with pushing the adoption of the protocol and the network. The Aleph Foundation was incorporated in 2018. We launched the mainnet in 2021. So we're not, haven't been as long around as long as Stellar, but very excited to see what's coming.
Great, thank you, Antoni. So regarding building Web3, one really key part will be the content itself and the quality of the content that will drive adoption, and that will drive users to all the new technology of Web3. Now, it will be great to know what you guys are doing in order to help on this quality content coming to Web3. Justin.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you say the content is what Web3 needs. I mean, in a lot of ways, Stellar as a layer 1 is actually infrastructure that people build products and services on. And so if you kind of think about the model that we're using, it's almost like an app store, right? Like, we are creating a platform, we are trying to get third-party developers to actually build the applications, the protocols, the tools that are necessary to create the ecosystem that makes that platform work, and that makes that infrastructure work, right? So in a way, I think the model that we have is kind of like the dApp store. And right now, or any kind of app store, I guess it would be dApps, but more like an app store. I think that right now the question for me is not so much how do we, the foundation, create content. It is how do we create an environment, incentives, tooling, and resources that allow you, to third-party developers, to actually build the apps that create a robust ecosystem and fill out what is essentially like a whole suite of products and services that make people excited to actually use and that interoperate so that it's all kind of working together.
Yeah, but just you know, both I think Stellar and us in opposition to like standard app stores that you know from the mobile world, there's no like 30% cut or anything. It's more of a foundation-driven grant program where the funds are given to developers, to different projects, to experiment with the network, to bring traffic to the network, and to build out the tooling and the ecosystem. And broadly speaking, like what we saw that's somewhat lacking in the market on the sort of within the funding programs of different environments was that not a lot of sort of projects go beyond funding and go beyond this initial support. So we thought that it might be a good idea to try and set up a sort of like a 360 support program where we go from you know, introductions and support on the legal and operational side to marketing to business development to also funding and just going from very, very early stage where there's just like 2 or 3 people trying to build something new to actually going to market and then scaling further. So very excited to see where that goes.
Cool.
I just want to say, I think that's a really good point that like App Store charges you 30%. In both of our cases, you'll probably get paid, right?
Yeah, it's like it's literally the other way.
Yeah, thank you guys. Now, there's always been this debate since I started on Web3. There's always all this discussion about centralization, decentralization. When I look at friends of mine and I ask them, I have a minority that bought crypto not using a centralized exchange and then a majority that did through a centralized exchange. When it comes to NFTs, there is a lot of traffic going in a centralized platform. So we see all this coexistence of both worlds in the world of Web3. What is your take on that in terms of your platform, your current vision for present and vision for future? Antoni.
Sure. So I think this starts with this age-old UX debate where centralized platforms are just more convenient and more intuitive. And whether that's, you know, an exchange or an application or a wallet is just easier to use something that is centralized. You just provide your email or your phone number or something like that, and yeah, you're squared away. And normal users oftentimes don't think of the risks associated with that as much as they don't think about counterparty risk when using different centralized tools. So I think we generally as an industry have still, you know, it's getting insanely better like over the last like year and a half, 2 years, but we still have a long way to go as far as usability of decentralized products and raising awareness of what that really means. And then in the context of building a layer 1 and bringing it to actually, you know, becoming decentralized, like properly decentralized, we're on our way. We launched a validators program around 2 months ago, like an external validators program. So we have over 100 of them, 117 to be exact. And there's that. The sort of holders of the underlying token are also fairly distributed. There's over 45,000 of them, which for a new network is quite good. So yeah, like right now what we're looking into heavily is social recovery on the wallet side, account abstraction as well. So very excited how, I'm very much looking forward to see how the wallet landscape actually is going to look like after the zero knowledge technology becomes sort of more well known and adopted.
Cool, thank you. What about you, Justin?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I think that what's interesting is that I believe there always will be a place for like centralized services for consumers as well as decentralized services. And I think that what's crucial is that consumers or people in general should have a choice, right? They should be able to say, do I want to trust some third party? Do I understand who they are? And I want them to assume like sort of the risk and I believe that that's the right move, or do I want to own everything myself? And I think that like it is true that there needs to be a lot of improvement on the decentralized side, especially in terms of applications, in order to bring them to parity with centralized interfaces. I don't necessarily think it's vital that all centralized interfaces, all centralized resources go away. In fact, I think whether or not, like even before there's parity in terms of the actual consumer experience, I even think that centralized entities that are using back-end decentralized infrastructure like blockchain networks can get certain advantages, right? So in the example of Stellar, by having a decentralized network infrastructure that actually connects to different on and off ramps, it even allows centralized entities to provide consumers oftentimes better cross-border payment experiences, especially if you're going to locations that don't necessarily have great connections to correspondent banks, right? Like, so I think even decentralized infrastructure, even with centralized interfaces, offers advantages in terms, and that consumers should be able to choose between the two. But ultimately, I definitely agree with Antoni that, like, on the decentralized side, it is really important to continue to work to improve user experience. And by doing things like the account recovery or account abstraction that he's talking about, on Stellar, there is a thing called recovery servers. There's a open spec SEP 30 that like sort of explains how to set it up. And the more that we can come up with innovative ways to sort of bring, mirror the good things about the centralized user experience on the decentralized side, I think the more that decentralized like options will become real for most end consumers.
Thank you. So another question that I have for you regarding building Web3 is, to my experience, when I lived lots of new markets that grew massively, that go from when the internet appeared, then we had Web 2 with Facebook, then we had the apps. All of those growth went to hundreds and then billions of users. When I've seen all of that, there is mainly two drivers. One is, of course, the content, as we're pointing out, but another one is the business models. And that continuously evolves as well as the content, and that drives more traffic. In terms of business models, Justin, what are you guys providing, or what's your vision, especially for this next year and the next coming years, on what you can guys help on Web3, on building Web3 in this sense?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I've probably said this like 25 times now, but one great thing that Stellar offers is its access. It has great on and off ramps that includes cash in via MoneyGram locations, right? So now imagine when the smart contracts platform launches, suddenly for builders, there's the ability to like sort of come up with novel solutions, even copy solutions that exist in other ecosystems in this new like sort of Soroban, which is the name of the smart contracts platform, in the new Soroban ecosystem. The advantage there is that those applications will have access to all of the on-ramps that Stellar already has. So years of building connections to real-world infrastructure, now suddenly the ability to create novel sort of DeFi and other financial solutions and governance solutions via smart contracts. Put those together, like what happens when you add cash to DeFi? Like what is the outcome? I think that it gives builders like the opportunity to launch products and services that actually reach consumers that we're not currently reaching, right? Sort of this underrepresented cash economy of consumers that suddenly will be able to actually use DeFi protocols that will actually get get the benefits of financial inclusion. And so I think it's, you know, smart contracts plus access equals something awesome.
Perfect. What about you, Antoni?
Yeah, sure. So, as you know, I would say where Stellar is also a general purpose platform, but focuses on cash to DeFi. We're focusing on what privacy brings and what new sort of use cases can be utilized thanks to this technology stack. And then from the applicants to the you know, ecosystem program, what we're seeing is a lot of focus on, for instance, privacy-enhanced voting or decentralized private governance, which is quite interesting. Then different SSI and decentralized identity products, which can be then sold both to, you know, they have standard Web 2 business models. You just build out a software as a service platform. So we're seeing more and more products mimicking the business models that we already know that are building on top of Aleph 0. And as for like the both Stellar and our business model per se, it's literally just transaction fees, and it's a token-based economy, so it's sort of hard to compare that to what's out there in the Web 2 world.
Oh yeah, it's definitely different, but we have a lot of, like, in our case, we're working on business models, and we came up with a solution for gaming, because as you know, gaming is going through a lot of trouble lately. But we are really confident we came up with a solution that improves the original model. One of the expertise that I have myself is opening new markets for gaming, regardless of what the platform is. We did it with .com, then with Facebook, then with the App Store. Then we went back to .com, then to the App Store, because the micropayments were not available in the App Store at the beginning. So lots of cycles, and I see a lot of opportunities, and you'll see some of that when we release the games ourselves, and you'll see some new approaches to business models. And I think we're going to see a lot in the gaming space. We'll see a lot of growth in next year, starting on Q2 this year. Now, regarding the overall topic, which is like how building Web3 as a general vision, what do you see are going to be the key things, like the key milestones going forward, especially in your spaces and your platforms, in the next 2 years or so? Antoni.
Sure. So, well, definitely finalizing the privacy side of things. So the zero knowledge part on our side is pretty much done. Obviously, still requires some work. Then by the end of the year, maybe beginning of the next, our CTO is sitting there, so maybe he won't kill me. But we're hoping to release the MPC part of things, and then just focus on building this out. We had a discussion by, I think, in December, where we were planning out this year, and we set out to enable sort of 50 different teams to build on top of Aleph Zero, and we focused on how can we get there. Then we had this also idea that 5 to 10 of them should be strictly privacy focused, and utilize what's actually the USP of the platform beyond the scalability side of things. So really, we just want people to use Aleph Zero, and we're doing whatever we can to make it happen. So that's pretty much the goal for the next 2 years, 3 years, and then probably the next couple years as well.
Hey, thank you. Justin.
Yeah, it's always good to make promises about a technical roadmap when your CTO is sitting in the room. Got to hold him to it.
I don't think it's going to end well for me.
I think, yeah, I mean, for Stellar, I think that the actual technical achievement that will happen, I promise, is that we will launch Soroban this year, probably towards the end of the first half of the year. So Soroban will bring smart contracts to Stellar. But between now and then, we're really trying to hustle to bootstrap an ecosystem. We don't want to launch a smart contracts protocol to the cold. We actually want it to be launched to what I picture as a minimum viable ecosystem. So I want one of everything, at least one of everything, right? So every tool, every protocol, every dApp, every educational resource that exists in a thriving DeFi ecosystem and a thriving smart contracts ecosystem, I want one of each of those to be ready for launch. And that means that to do that, we have created a super accelerated grants program, the Stellar Community Fund, which you can apply to right now at communityfund.stellar.org. The idea is that we're going to give away a lot of grants, all around the $100,000, $150,000 range, to basically build out in a few months some sort of initial take at one of these things that exists in another ecosystem that doesn't yet exist in Soroban. So if you want to be first to market in whatever it is that exists, you can literally go there, say, okay, I'm going to build this on Soroban, and create the first one. Goal is, through people like you, we actually arrive at that date of mainnet launch with a vibrant ecosystem and start from day one with capitalizing on the utility that you get when you combine cash with DeFi.
Great. Justin, Antoni, thanks a lot for your time. It was great having you here today and sharing your visions on building Web3. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
So